Should I put a trigger warning on a video that's about triggers? I guess this is your trigger warning. What's up guys, my name's Beater and yeah, today's video is about triggers. So a trigger is defined as something that causes an event to happen, and these events could be both like positive, negative, or neutral. And triggers could be just about anything. They could be songs, food, words, phrases, people, places, lights, animals, movies, just about anything. Now I'm going to cover like the more negative definition of triggers first. I've seen these used in a variety of contexts, and that's what's important about the word trigger is the context that it's used in, because it could mean a variety of things. Now for the first one, I've primarily seen the word trigger used for something that reminds someone of trauma. Once exposed to this trigger, it could unearth the memory or bring it back or make people have flashbacks and relive it, which is not an ideal thing. And this could cause things like panic attacks, sudden flares of emotion. It could cause someone to go into like a really self-destruct kind of mode, or it could cause them to just shut down entirely. Usually memories of trauma really aren't things that people want to remember, so it's kind of natural that they have a negative reaction to it. And sometimes it takes people a while to get back out of that. That could range from like a couple of minutes to like snap back out of it, or it could last for a few days, which is kind of terrible to imagine going through, but it happens to people. These things can be pretty hard to avoid, but when it comes to avoiding triggers, one of the best things you can kind of do is remove yourself from the situation, because prolonging the exposure to a trigger may not be a good thing for you. I know some therapists use like long-term exposure to triggers to kind of cause the extinction of the gut reaction you get. It's kind of a form of conditioning, honestly. Like, the more you're exposed to something, the less of a reaction you have to it, and some therapists use that for recovery. But doing that on your own may not be the best thing for you. It could cause more harm than good. So if you experience like really bad reactions to something, the best thing you could do for yourself is take a step back and kind of figure out where you are with the situation. Like, can you handle it? Can you not? Just doing what's best for you is probably the best. Now for the more positive or neutral definition I've seen used, this is more of a term for D.I.D or OSDD systems. And in this context, it usually tends to mean a specific stimuli, like the list I mentioned earlier, something specific that brings a specific alter out. Although this can be really misinterpreted, I've seen, because I was in a Facebook group at one point and someone was like, hey, what are your guys' triggers? And we were like, what do you mean by that exactly? Do you mean what brings people out? Do you mean what causes us to go into a panic? I don't know. But in the switching context, a trigger usually tends to mean, yeah, something that will bring someone specific out. This can be pretty controlled, it can be pretty uncontrolled. Like, if you've seen our past video about switching, you see that a specific song is a trigger to bring out a specific alter. Now, avoiding this one can be a little bit harder because some alters switch out very quickly, very strong, and don't really go back in until they've done what needs to be done. Especially if it's for protectors or something where it's like an actual need and it's a bad situation that's happening around you and they are needed to help alleviate the stress of that situation. So yeah, in my adventures on the internet, I've seen the word trigger used in two different contexts. Context is really important with this because it could mean either something really bad or something that could be bad but isn't inherently bad, like flashbacks are bad, but switching can be helpful in some situations. But yeah, triggers aren't necessarily something that people should really joke about unless they are someone with triggers and they can like kind of take it with a sense of lightness or humor. But for someone who doesn't experience triggers or doesn't really know how severe they are, making jokes like LOL triggered is like really uncool. Yeah. Because triggers can involve anger. Like, if you're reminded of a situation in the past that was really upsetting, like abuse or something, it makes sense to be angry. You don't have to feel bad about being angry about a trigger because of the stigma around being triggered. So yeah, the reason I bring this up is because triggers can be discovered over time as well. For example, literally yesterday we were out and about and it was Parsifal who was fronting and he encountered a situation, I won't really go into detail, but he encountered a situation that brought forward memories of from when we were very young and not in a good place. And that kind of just made the whole day feel pretty off. Like, he was pretty upset, like, he didn't say much, and he just wanted to, like, be in a very quiet environment and just kind of recover on his own, which is a totally normal reaction. There are a lot of people who react that way too, so we're not just the odd ones out here. But yeah, triggers can be discovered over time, and something that wasn't triggering before could become that. So I would suggest in times like that to really take care of yourselves, take a step back, do what you need to do to like get through life, you know? There are also creative ways that you could figure out how to avoid specific triggers or kind of keep them from affecting you negatively. I'll use an example for us here. Parsifal, for example, is triggered by strobe lights or white lights flashing to the right of his vision. I know that's really specific, but there's a good reason for that one, which I won't get into today. But to keep that from bothering him, sometimes he'll have a bandana on him, and he will use that to cover up the right eye. I know it looks stupid, but looking stupid is kind of better than a panic attack. But if we don't have that, he'll kind of just like cover up the eye or like take the hood and like turn it down or turn away somehow. And typically that works pretty well. There's a variety of ways that you could find ways to counteract triggers or just like keep them from affecting you badly, and you can just figure those out with time because everyone's triggers are different and unique to them. So yeah, that's all I had to say on our first little video about triggers. If there's any more questions you want to ask or something I didn't get around to, feel free to ask. I've got cats meowing outside my door. Today is a good day. I hope y'all are having a good day too. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video.